computer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mainstream Mortgages podcast. I will be your host this week, and my name is Colton Boudreau. I'm alongside my business partners Peter Paley and Derek Vendel. So today's episode is New to Canada mortgages. We're just going to dive right into it. So, Derek, can newcomers to Canada qualify for a mortgage without having years of Canadian credit history?
The short answer is yes. You don't need to have tons of Canadian credit history, and in some cases, you don't really need to have any Canadian credit history reporting to a Canadian credit bureau. So just keep that in mind, and I think we're probably going to answer the rest of that question later on in this episode.
Perfect. So, Peter, how long do you need to live in Canada before you can buy your first home?
Technically, you don't even need to be living here. There are some non-resident programs, even though there is a foreign buyer ban, you don't need to live here. But if you're new to Canada on a work permit or permanent residency, you pretty much need to have 3 months of established work history before you could be considered for a mortgage under the New to Canada program.
Okay. And so, Derek, when I'm applying for a mortgage as a new to Canada resident, what kind of documents do I need?
Well, it does depend on your specific residency, like if you've got a work permit or if you've got permanent residence or any of those combinations. It can depend, but generally speaking, if you don't have that Canadian credit history, you're also going to need a letter from your landlord and bank statements showing all of your rental payments that you've been making for either a year or 6 months, depending. But yeah, I mean, there are different documents that you're going to need, but those are the general ones that most new to Canada people will need.
Okay, so speaking of documents, bank statements, how much down payment do I need, Peter?
There's two programs for minimum down payment. There's a 5% down program and a 10% down program. The 5% down payment option means you're going to need a lot more documents. You typically need to be in Canada for 1 year on this program. You're going to need to have full-time employment. You're going to need to have your down payment saved up and in Canada, preferably for a full 90 days. And and you're probably going to need some established Canadian credit history. We do have the ability to take 12 months of your bank statements. We go through them and we're looking for recurring debts like utility bills, car insurance, cell phone bills, even. I mean, once I got away with a gym membership, just looking for anything that you've paid consistently for 12 months, like that can help you boost your credits, your score. And the 10% down payment, that's for people who are coming to the country, they have 10% down. They have no Canadian credit history. We can request a letter from their bank from the country of origin to vouch for them. And we can also use 6 months of bank statements to show that those recurring payments for alternative credit.
Okay, so Derek, kind of staying on the document front, what happens if I have income from where I came from? Can I use that, like income from back home when
That's a great
qualifying for a mortgage?
question. Yeah, it actually depends. Most of the time, you're probably not going to be able to use that income, but if you are actually claiming it in on your Canadian income taxes, then we can probably use that in that case. Usually, if that's the case, though, you need to have 2 years. But again, it's case by case. Either way, it would have to be claimed on your Canadian income taxes.
Yeah, all foreign
Okay,
income can't be used if it's not declared in Canada.
right,
Right.
and that makes sense. Peter, what are the most common mistakes you see that newcomers make when trying to apply for a mortgage or qualify for a mortgage?
I think that maybe the biggest mistake is not doing enough research and talking to experts like us at Mainstream Mortgages. And maybe they talk to their friends who've already went through the process who didn't really understand it. And I think it's really I think it's really important to be clear about how picky down payment and bank accounts are, because I really find when people are new to the country, like they set up one to 10 bank accounts, which are unnecessary, and there's a lot of money transfers going around. Well, it makes it really difficult for someone to track their down payment. I think the other thing that happens a lot is they keep most of their money back home where they came from because probably the interest rate's a lot better than here in Canada. But moving that money over to Canada and letting it being used for down payment can sometimes be a real problem depending where home was. And I think that would be my top two errors, especially the down payment thing, because anyone who's watched more than one episode of this knows I bring it up in almost every episode. So yeah,
Yeah,
those are
and
the top two. Anything you would add on there, Derek?
I would just add that we actually had a specific scenario where the down payment was sitting in a Cuban bank account. And it was the borrower's money, everything was checked out, everything was fine. But in Canada, we need to show a 90 days transaction history of where those down payment funds are coming from. So we got those Cuban bank statements, but in Cuba, there's something called these pocket accounts. And those down payment funds were in this pocket account, and there's no transaction history from that pocket account, so we couldn't use those funds for down payment in that case. So there, like that's just one example of many different things that could kind of screw things up on our end if your down payment is from overseas.
So do you think it's more beneficial to wait as a newcomer to kind of establish yourself, get the money over here, and just kind of get everything in place? Or when you first come, should you just immediately start looking?
You should immediately contact the mortgage broker. Us is what you should immediately do, and we'll give you good step-by-step guidance. And please follow it because we really are experts in this, and we're not. And sometimes we say things which even sound silly to our own ears, but I mean, the rules are the rules, and it's a lot easier to follow them than to try to work around them and get exceptions.
Perfect. So that kind of wraps up the questions I have on today's topic. Do you guys have anything else to add?
I kind of do. I just wanted to maybe mention some equity programs that are out there for people who have 20% down, maybe 35% down. There's a lot of great programs out there. If you maybe move to Canada, have a lot of money, maybe you don't have any employment, or have so much money you're going to just sort of live here or retire. Like there's a lot of good net worth programs and equity programs where if you have enough money in the bank, you can still actually qualify for a mortgage. And we're talking like 25, 35% down, but it's definitely something to think about. I mean, every so often, like once or twice a year, we come across a client and we're like, well, we can actually help you because you have so much money. And they're like, oh, we were told we couldn't be helped at all. And there are programs for those more wealthier individuals who have just moved to Canada that can easily be taken advantage of at best rates.
Yeah, the last thing that I would kind of add is just if you're a permanent resident, usually you're okay to go ahead and purchase a home. If you are on a work permit, I didn't mention this earlier, but I'll mention it now. Uh, you'll need at least 183 days from the point of purchasing the property to when the permit expires, right? You need at least that 183 days, basically half a year. Otherwise, you'll need to renew that work permit before you can qualify for a mortgage.
And then there's also that instance where your work permit's expiring, but you've applied for permanent residency, but it takes a little bit of time. I believe it's called maintained status now. Um, that's a case by case basis as well by the lender, and they really focus on work history and credit and the amount of money you've been able to save. So like that's also an exception we may be able to get if you're in that circumstance as well. And I think it's really important to mention that. And I also want to mention, just because we've had such an influx in US customers looking to purchase vacation homes or flee their homeland, we can help you coming from the US. You still have to meet certain criteria, but we'd be happy to help you if you are looking at a vacation property in Canada or planning on fleeing your homeland.
Okay, Great. Well, thanks for all the information, guys. So as always, you can contact us at 431-482-2187 by text or call, or email us at greatrates@mainstreammortgages.com with any questions, concerns, or just, can you qualify? So again, thanks for watching.
Thanks, everyone.